Hi, folks. Dr. Jim Gishwin, PhD, and former career intelligence analyst in the Pentagon under the Director of Naval Intelligence, John Butts, under Reagan, and also leading chief of 7th Fleet Intelligence. What can I say? We got a lot of things covered today. Well, I'll tell you, things are just happening. Someone named Loomer and our national security apparatus is warning of a multi-city Al-Qaida attack. Of course, we know Al-Qaida and ISIS came in during that mass migration that Biden sponsored. Okay, all those gotaways. I asked my classes last year. I said, with all the gotaways you got, how many of them do you think were terrorists? And they said, about half of them. You know, if they didn't want the free phone and stuff that Biden was giving out. Okay, yeah, that's what it says. Horrific multi-city attacks coming. All right, that's from the federal government. Remember, I told you, be careful about what you hear from the federal government. Okay. All right. Anyway, the Charlie Kirk thing has become the Jimmy Kimmel thing. So Jimmy Kimmel's last claim to fame, before he fades into the sunset, you got to understand something, okay? On regular network TV, those airways are assigned by the FCC, and every year they have to go through something called, how much good are you doing for the public? Well, you sit there and start putting out false news like Kimmel did, and just hateful stuff. 485 of their independent stations that belong to ABC or that subscribe to ABC said they would not air this stuff. So ABC and Disney were really putting a bind, and then FCC come out and say, hey man, you're not fulfilling the public good. And that's exactly it. You see, the cable is handled differently, but the old networks are assigned airways, okay? They're not on cable. So the FCC controls them a little bit more. All right, let's press on that. You all read my piece on Charlie. He was a great man, a great Christian, and a great champion of free speech. I sat there and got into it with a fellow teacher the other day about DEI. I sat there and said, look, DEI is only the old affirmative action, okay? And the Supreme Court said that you cannot cure racism with more racism. And I said, don't you want to be... This is not 1955, okay? We got just as many blacks in the middle class as we got whites in the middle class. In fact, we got more than the percentage of blacks in the population that are doing well. Problem is, of course, the inner cities. And I got people of many cultures in there. Sometimes the only way out of those cultures, because of their poor education, is the military or becoming a member of the police. The police are very DEI. Okay? You don't see all white police forces too much anymore. And you don't see Congress all white. Old men. Well, there's a lot of old white men in Congress, and it's about time they sat there and hung up their spurs. Okay. Anyway, I keep warning you guys about World War III. It's this close. It's this close, people. Putin wants his old empire back. What does it take to sit there and convince you? He had 14 drone attacks into Poland. We have troops in Poland, people. He's sitting there really pushing the edge. He's not tiptoeing across anymore. He's pushing it. He also sat there and did, what did he do? Finland. Okay? Finland. Had some drone stuff. Let's see. Anyway, and also Romania. And Estonia, they had an overflight of Estonia with Russian jet fighters. All of these people are NATO. All of them are. Trump's sitting there trying to sit there and get rid of our biggest terrorist, George Soros. You know, he can probably deport him back to Hungary. I don't think Hungary wants him. He almost destroyed the European, he almost destroyed English economy, the pound, okay? He cornered the market, something like that. It was a long time ago. It was when I was very young. He did this. That was one of his first things that made him infamous. Okay, well, anyway, we're also finding more and more stuff going on. The old conspiracy theories, they're coming true. Okay. Let's see, what did we find out here? Remember the Obama thing with the IRS and, Lerner against the conservatives, and the CIA and FBI, of course, against Trump on his first term. And, of course, they had the NSA scandal. Obama weaponized the federal government way back, and then Biden comes back in and weaponizes it more. They just found a list in the Department of Justice of about 175 conservatives that the Department of Justice was going to investigate. They didn't start. Okay. The election occurred just in time. So thank God for that. Remember, God gave us this country. Let's all pray and thank God for it. And please, no violence, people. Okay? We can agree to disagree. That's what America's all about. I enlisted in 3 services. I spent 22 years in the military, and I dedicated my life. I sat there and put my life on the line, even though I was never really in danger. I was always in the rear of the gear, the beer, and the fear, as they say. All right, Comshaw artist in the rear. Anyway, we sat there, all military people put their life on the line for free speech, for those first 10 amendments, for the Constitution, and we swear it every time we re-enlist. Okay? God gave us this country. I'm happy he did. I'm so glad he did. And I love my Lord. I'm old. And people sit there and say I'm a member of 20 organizations, just about, and an officer of half of them, and in charge of this somewhere, and in charge of that somewhere. My statue came in, they're complaining that the statues looked like foreign soldiers. I said, well, that statue was originally done by a French artist. Okay? And all it is a copy of an old statue. I think it was done like World War One, between World War One and World War II, something like that. Of the 2 soldiers helping the one off. It doesn't matter what nationality they are. It means the same thing. Okay? Anyway, guys, if you don't want it at the American Legion, I'll haul it somewhere else. Okay? It's only 500 pounds. It ain't going to cost me a fortune to move it. Anyway, I want you all to pray for the soul of Charlie Kirk.